Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Dot Boyd, Senior Safety Specialist, and it's wonderful to have you all here. Great turnout, thank you. And for those of you watching live, thank you for attending today. So my focus in the greater Sacramento area, and in some cases across the U.S., is all about senior safety. I'm a fall prevention educator and have immersed myself in the world of fall prevention and emergency devices and even emergency care plans for care partners, because a lot of times the person caring for someone isn't taking very good care of themselves. So I talk about all of those kinds of things. Today we're going to talk about demystifying personal emergency alerts. So the reason I came up with this topic is actually I was asked for it by one of the Parkinson's support groups during the pandemic. And nobody wanted to touch the subject. All the big name device companies you've all heard and seen, in your AARP magazine and on TV for years, they're like, no, but we'll send you some brochures. Nobody wanted to tackle this subject because it's massive. And everybody just wants to sell you their stuff. And I will say, disclaimer here, I represent a brand of personal emergency alerts as well, but they aren't always the answer for everybody. So when I consult with folks, I talk about all sorts of things so we can get to the crux of the matter and connect you with the right device for you and your lifestyle, whether it be something I represent or another brand. So I just want you to know that right up front. I will do demonstrations of a couple of my devices today just to give you an idea of what's out there. So what's really important is to know why you need to have a personal emergency alert device of some sort, and we'll talk about that, why relying on a phone is not a plan, because we think we're going to get to a phone in an emergency, but it ain't easy, excuse my language there, but getting to a phone, if I've fallen and I broke my hip, my phone's useless to me, right? And that's what happened to my mom. So we'll talk about devices that are mobile and portable. So they work for you wherever you are because you have it with you on your body or in your purse or in your pocket when you leave the house. So there are devices for independent folks like you that come and go with you. There are home-based systems. We're going to talk about those. There are smartwatches and fall detectors. There are new innovations out there in the world of these types of devices and caregiving type devices. And then I'm going to talk about shopping tips and the red flags. So the biggest thing I think that keeps people from, two things I think keep people from getting any kind of a personal emergency alert is there's a stigma from many decades of commercials, I've fallen and I can't get up, right? Everybody knows that one. And none of us want to be that person on the floor who's fallen and can't get up. However, we got to get real with ourselves, because I don't know about anybody in here, maybe Sean, but the rest of us are a little older than 25. I always say I'm not 25 anymore, so I have to take a look at what keeps me safe so I can continue enjoying my independent life. And I think that's the same for all of you. So there is a stigma on these darn things, which is unfortunate because what happens is people don't get help when they need it because they can't reach a phone and they didn't want to wear a button. I get it. The other thing is that when you do shop around for them, and if you've got kids who are saying, Mom, Dad, you got to get this, you got to get that, I'm worried about you, you go online or you make a few phone calls and you're like, oh my gosh, where do I start? There's hundreds of these things. There really are. So that's why I'll break it down into what is mobile and portable, what's home-based, what is important if you're doing any health tracking, and then how to shop for these devices. So that's what we're going to do today. But remember, you may feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. Don't worry about it. Relax, take in what you do. The handouts are great. And like I said, I'm just a phone call away. I am local. I'm your Sacramento Senior Safety Specialist. So the reason these things are really important, and even the CDC, the Mayo Clinic, and Harvard Medical School all recommend medical alerts, is because we can't rely on a phone in an emergency. If you're having a heart attack, how are you going to tap your cell phone to life And then, call 911 if you've charged it. Or if you have a landline, how are you going to get to your landline in time, right? But if you're wearing a button, you can get help right away. If you're in the shower and you slip, it happens. 80% of our falls happen at home. Of those, the majority are in the bathroom for many reasons, on and off the toilet. Slippery floors, rugs, in the shower. It doesn't take much once we start to age. Even if you're doing everything right, you can still have a mishap. You could be walking down the street getting your mail, and the neighbor's dog knocks you over. You were doing everything right, took all your matter of balance classes here with Danny, and still something can happen. So it's really important to know that 1 out of 4 folks over the age of 65 fall every year. And every 11 seconds, a senior is treated in the emergency department for fall-related injuries. I'm actually ahead of myself on this slide. But one of the things that happens is because we are relying on a phone or even maybe a smart watch, we think we've got it all set up. What happens is most people, if they live alone or spend a lot of time alone, end up needing help for hours or days. I don't know if you heard about the gentleman, I think it was in March. He got caught up in his collapsible bed on a Friday night. I can't even imagine that, right? I don't know all the particulars, but he did. And I believe he maybe got himself out of the bed onto the floor. But imagine, and I don't know if that part's accurate, but his bed scooped him up on Friday night. And Monday morning, when his Meals on Wheels delivery person got there, she saved his life. 3 days or 3 nights, not getting food, water, whatever injuries he might have had, not being tended to, just the panic of that. It's a very traumatic experience. Had he been wearing an alert button, chances are he could have pushed it, right? Or even if he had motion sensors in the house that delivered some information to a loved one, they would have at least known that he didn't get out of bed the next morning. So you see, there are some things we can do with all these modern innovations that are simple to use, but they are life-saving. So these are those stats. 1 in 4 Americans, 65 and older, fall every year. Every 11 seconds, a senior is treated in the emergency department for fall-related injuries. And every 19 minutes, a senior dies from those injuries. So it's bad, it's terrible. And I'm on this mission to share that and have people understand that, this is a real problem for us as we age because, it doesn't take much. We don't lift our feet up the way we do. I have a whole presentation just on all of that kind of stuff. But I know Danny and Sean do that as well. So let's move on to the next slide. I'm going in the right direction. I'm going in the wrong direction. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is all about relying on a phone. So the average length of time somebody waits and hopes and prays for help after a fall or a mishap. It could be in the backyard at 105 degrees out, or on the side of the house taking the garbage cans out, and the garbage cans had another plan for you. The average length of time is 18 hours that somebody suffers before somebody realizes, hey, Mom didn't answer today, or the neighbor sees something amiss because the curtains weren't open this morning, right? Or a best friend is concerned. So that's the thing, 18 hours. I have clients where they had a stroke. Everybody thought they were fine. Nobody knew they were in trouble. 3 days. One gentleman, 5 days after falling off the toilet. He got wedged between the toilet and the bathtub. And the only thing that saved his life, that with his broken ribs and all this pain, he could reach over to the water, to the spigot and get water out of the tub. He would have died otherwise. And he was in his 50s. He's pre-stats, but he had mobility issues. So you see, you just by me telling you this, it gives you an idea why these devices are important. And we got to find a way to get over the stigma because they save our lives and help us live a longer, more fulfilling, active life. So these are some examples of the portable devices that are out there. They're in all shapes and colors and sizes. And these are the ones that you can take with you when you leave the house. So you all walked or drove here, right? This is the kind of device that would suit you well. And then for those of you at home, we'll talk about the one, if you don't get out much and you're most concerned about your safety at home, we'll talk about those in-home devices. These are the portables. So you can see they come in things that look like watches, right? You can see those in the middle. There are some little things that they hang around your neck. Some of them have fall detection and the voice box with the emergency operator all in one, okay? And some can be worn in the shower and some can't. I highly recommend things that can be worn in the shower, and I recommend that you wear them in the shower because remember, the majority of our falls at home, we're just talking falls, we're not talking about other medical mishaps, right? Or chronic conditions you may have that could cause, something to happen very quickly. High blood pressure, low blood pressure, diabetes, spikes in your blood sugar, freezing up with Parkinson's. There's so many things that can happen in an instant, right? So you want to be sure that you can wear something in the shower. And who cares? No one's going to see you in there. It doesn't matter if it's ugly or not, right? It's going to save your life, possibly. And it will give your family some peace of mind. So we'll talk about these. So the pros of these. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of these types of devices for each segment. So for the portable ones, these are the ones that are ideal for independent lifestyles because they're small and they're portable, right? They protect you at home and on the go, and all of them mostly work off of cell towers in the general area, wherever you are throughout the U.S. So I have folks who travel and who are my clients, and they take their devices with them, unless they're going to be with family all the time, and they say, I'm going to leave it at home. But for the most part, these will work throughout the U.S. wherever there is cell service. So you can get help wherever you are. The emergency operator is as near as your device. So at home, in the shower, in the car, and when traveling, like I said, at the push of a button. If you get in a car accident, I don't know about you, but whenever I've had to slam on my brakes to avoid one, my purse goes flying to the floor on the passenger side, along with my cell phone. There's absolutely no way I can reach that. When it's on the floor on the other side, I'm short. I cannot reach over and get anything that's fallen on the floor. I would have to stop my car, get out, and get to the phone. But if I'm wearing a button, I can push a button and get help right away, which is all about getting immediate help, not later help, because there's kind of a golden hour for us in a lot of ways with medical conditions, emergencies, and so forth. The technology on the portable ones tend to be modern, yet easy to use. So I don't want you to be, I don't like to use the word technology because it's kind of a four-letter word as we age, like, oh, I don't like technology, right? Well, I'm a senior myself, and I know how to use these things, and I think that's pretty amazing because I was never a techie, still not one. So they have to be simple to use, right? And they have to be reliable. So many of them are easy to use and very reliable. Some look like fitness trackers, right? Some look like smart watches, taking away some of that stigma. But again, the device that you'll wear is the one that's best for you. That's the key. They are generally water resistant, again, so you can wear them in the shower, even in the pool or the spa. It's always good to test them after you've been in the pool or the spa, just to be sure it's still working. Because you never want to find out the hard way, oh, darn it, my button isn't working and I'm having a crisis. Or you may be pushing the button for a loved one who can't. Because in many cases, if we're a caregiver to a family member, they may not be able to push a button, but we could push a button for them or ourselves. And we'll talk about that too. So the pros, again, you can wear them around your neck, or I'll give you an example. Here's an example of one. You can wear this around your neck, under your blouse, under your shirt. Some women will put a fancy chain on it so it looks like jewelry and still put it under their blouses. Doesn't matter as long as you got one on. And you can also wear buttons around your wrist like watches. Again, this is just an example of some, right? Some of the more attractive ones. But just want you to know, you do have options. Most of us have only seen the big ones that hang around our neck, right? And we're like, I don't want to wear one of those. I get it. But sometimes that is the best one, depending on what works for you. So some of the portable devices are even programmable from a mobile app. So you can leave messages from a mobile app or your loved ones. Let's just say your kids are constantly calling you. Mom, are you okay? Mom, call me. You know, you didn't call me back. I'm really worried. Do I need to come over and check on you? How many of you have worried kids that are, always thinking, are you okay? Anybody have those? So if you do, there is a mobile app. They can leave messages to your device. When you play that message, they can see that you played that message, and they know you are not laying there on the floor struggling because you had to fall at 2 a.m. So if you have a good morning, Mom, I love you, have a great day, and you push the button on your device and you hear it, hey, that's a nice, cheery way to wake up. And secondly, they get the peace of mind knowing that you're okay because you pushed a button to hear a message. So that means you're okay. So simple things like that with the modern devices that have mobile apps are pretty nice, especially if your family isn't close by. Those are wonderful things. You can also put in medication reminders, activity reminders, reminders to drink plenty of water on a hot day, whatever it might be. So I can show you, I'll show you what I have. I'll show you this one. So this is an example of a portable, okay? So this one, if I push this button, right?
Dialing the emergency response center now.
I'll put it by my microphone.
Cancel this call. Press and hold the emergency call button for 3 seconds now. Your call has been canceled.
So this portable device, like the one, my personal one is right here in a little pouch. This portable one, GPS is my location. And then the live operator comes on. And they will ask if I need help or emergency assistance. And if I say yes, they're going to send help right to my location. And then they're going to call my husband. So these are the portable ones. They come in many styles. Making sure the ambulance isn't calling me, but I did cancel that one. So that's an example of something. And this would just go in your pocket or go in a little pouch that it comes with. And you can attach it to your pants, put it in your purse, put it, however you want to do that. But just wanted you to know this is an example of a portable. And these are all made, the calls are made over a cell tower. So this is considered the remote control. Anytime you're buying a two-piece device, this is the remote control so that it should have a long life battery so that you don't have to take it off to charge it. And we're going to talk about smartwatches later in the program. But the idea is that you've got a piece that you're wearing that you keep on all the time, most of the time, or especially when you're alone. Or if you're doing something you shouldn't do anymore because you're not 25 anymore, right? Decorating the house for seasonal, holidays is really a problem, especially for determined women getting up on ladders and, getting boxes out of the closet and then hanging things, let me tell you. So, but that's just, it gives you an idea of the portables. And,
Excuse me.
yes.
So that particular device, you do need both?
Yes.
Explain, why you would need the remote?
Yes. So the reason this is a two-piece system is so that you have a wearable button. And this could be worn around your neck, same type of thing. The button will talk to this device. So this particular device can't go in the shower. And it does need to be charged every day for about an hour like a cell phone. And it's really the brains of it. So all the brains of the device, the locator, the live operator, it's all in this little transmitter. And then this is a remote control so that you have a wearable button. So one of the most important things to know about personal emergency devices, whatever style you get, you want to have a wearable button of some sort, whether it's around your neck or your wrist, so that you can push it in an instant. And then it activates a call either through that device that you're wearing or a transmitter or a console in the house. So it's all about the wearable piece. Because if the wearable piece didn't matter, we could maybe rely on phones like we used to. But we're a lot more alone than we used to be, right? Some of us live longer than our spouses. Some of us are divorced. Some of us, live alone, and our family's nowhere nearby, and not everybody knows their neighbors. I think in the ACC community, not so much. I think you're very connected. I think if you don't show up sometime, people might notice. But they're not checking on you at 2 a.m. So if you had a mishap at 2 a.m., you got up to go to the bathroom, right? Didn't turn the lights on. There's a rug that shouldn't be there. Whatever it might be, missed your footing or kind of missed where the toilet was because you didn't turn the light on and didn't have a night light, right? It happens. So what happens is it's the middle of the night and no one's going to be checking on you till the morning, and you've spent a lot of time waiting and suffering when if you'd had a button on, right, you could get help right away. So that's really that's the reason, yeah. The wearable piece is really critical. And whatever piece it is that you're going to wear is the one that works for you. I think that's the key. So let's see here. What else? Okay, so the home-based ones, all right? Does anybody have questions about the portable mobile ones? Because I don't want to go too fast.
But there wasn't a handout about it.
No, there's just about, when you're shopping, what to avoid, that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, Sean has the whole presentation, so if somebody wanted it printed out, I'm sure it could be arranged. It's, 20 pages or some crazy thing like that, 28 pages, who knows? I'm always adding new content. So what you have with home-based systems is you've got this one up in the very top left. That is the old-fashioned, tried and true landline device. So if you still have a landline phone, if you're more concerned about your safety in the house versus on the go, this one can be great. And if you've got hearing loss, it is wonderful because it's really loud. Do any of you have emergency, what do you want to call it, a home security system where if a loud voice comes on and either someone's coming in the house or you pushed a panic button? Well, it's like that because if you, again, they come with neck pendants or wrist pendants, either way, and with the push of a button, there is a loud call through that console that's plugged in through the landline jack, and the call is made over your landline phone system, and you will know throughout the house that there's an emergency call being made. And some people love this one because you can hear it throughout the house, and two people can be on the same system because they can each have a wearable piece. So, and if you're in a rural area where cell phone service is unreliable, this is the best way to go if you still have a landline. And that's what's considered an old-fashioned, they don't call it that, but I do, landline system. I love this for certain people. It's truly remarkable. It's just not sexy, can I say that on TV? It's just not new and trendy, but that doesn't mean it's not wonderful. So then other systems you'll see, like on the bottom, there's a console with a neck pendant, console with a wearable. The different companies have different style devices. These all just plug in an outlet. They are not landline systems. And the one I can show you here is a more modern system of an in-home system. And this is called Pro Health from Electronic Caregiver. It comes with a wearable. It could be a wrist pendant, it could be a neck pendant, or even a fall detector necklace some people like to have. Whatever wearable, remember the wearable is key. And these kinds of things work within the house. So with a push of a button.
Dialing the emergency response center now. To cancel this call, please press the
I'll
help bar
cancel
now.
it because it's really just a demo unit.
Your call has been canceled.
The key is that I just have this plugged in. It's plugged into, an extension cord, but it would just be plugged in, somewhere central in your house. And it works, it has a pretty big range. It'll cover your whole house unless you live in a 5,000 square foot mansion. And also pretty much front yard and backyard, where you can have a wearable on and it will activate it. And what's nice about something like this is very simple to use. There's no battery to charge. This particular one comes with telemedicine, and which is unique, as well as the ability to, from a mobile app, to leave messages, reminders, and whatnot, which can be handy for people. But I always say, don't get more than what you need. Get what's going to suit you and work for you and that you're going to wear consistently, right? So this is an example of the mobile app. So, and I'll show you on here. So this one, just for instance, so if you have chronic health conditions, see, emergency alerts have gone further than I've fallen and I can't get up. So if you have some chronic health conditions and your doctor has said, look, you got to monitor your blood pressure. We need to know, you've got some heart issues. We got to see your weight. We need you to be weighing yourself once or twice a day. You've got some long COVID symptoms. We need you to be taking your pulse oxygen reading daily or multiple times a day, whatever it may be. The modern health consoles like this one are where you can add on what they call Bluetooth peripherals. So you could be adding on, let's say you need to take your temperature, right? So I could take my temperature and it'll connect to this device. If all systems are a go. If I have the right one. Could be I have the wrong one. I probably have the wrong one. See, I have multiple devices to show you. Let's see if it's this one.
Connected to the thermometer. Please wait.
Now it should tell me my temperature. But in buildings like this, sometimes it's a little slow. Well, when I'm talking, it'll start. So I'll show you on the mobile app. So if you're having to take anything, you will have all of this stored on your mobile app. So that's what I'm showing you up there. So these are stats I took yesterday, pulse oxygen and my temp. And then over time, you can email that to your doctor. Your kids could look at it if they're worried about you. You can be tracking, oh, I'm normal, things are in my range. So if you do have chronic conditions, these mobile apps.
Connected to the thermometer.
Whoops.
Please wait.
Okay, stop it. It'll probably keep doing that. So that's important. And then the mobile app with the can have also other information on it. Who are your doctors? What are your care, who are your caregiving people, like in your circle of care, your kids, your spouse, whatever, as well as if you have a mobile device, then it would include your location, right? If people are worried about it. Yes?
So would an emergency responder be able to get to that information within that app?
They wouldn't be able to get into that because that is private to you and anyone who's on your emergency call list. So they wouldn't. But we can talk about one of the important things to have, and I brought examples of them, are, and we can do another session on that, is your vial of life form, your medical conditions, having those kinds of things posted on your fridge or somewhere prominent in the house. So that first responders can see what's going on for you. Okay, whatever chronic conditions a person may have, medications, as well as allergies to meds, personal care wishes, even do not resuscitate or do this, do that. So because paramedics, when they are tending to you or coming to your home, they look for those things and they will grab them. With a personal emergency alert device, not an Apple Watch and not any of the smart watches per se, but with a company that provides what we would call personal emergency alert devices, medical alerts, whatever you want to call them, then the information is gathered about you so that when you push your button, and we'll be talking about this too, when you push your button and the live operator comes on, they know things about you or your loved one, whoever is the primary person, or both of you, about your medical conditions, your if you have allergies to medications, where you store your medications in the house, do you have care wishes posted, how to get in the house if the door's locked. That's a big one because none of us want our door broken down. And your preferred hospital, and of course your emergency call list. So all of these things that are important for the first responders to know, the emergency operator relays that to those first responders. So if you just called 911, this is one of the reasons these things are so important, and I may be getting ahead of myself here, but with when you call 911, if you are lucky enough to call 911 in an emergency, they only know what you tell them. And they're at the mercy of whatever they can see when they get to your house. Let's just say you're at home, right? So they don't know anything about you, any of your conditions, allergies to medications, even religious preferences for care. There's a lot of things involved that we might not think about. So when we call 911, that operator, it's going to go to CHP in most cases. They're going to triangulate your location. This is from a cell phone. If you're calling from a landline, they know where you are. It's different. But many of us are using a cell phone, or somebody else is using a cell phone on our behalf. Let's just say you're over at Nugget Market shopping, and somebody knocks you over in the parking lot, or you fall getting in or out of your car, and a good Samaritan comes by and calls 911 for you. They don't know anything about you either, right? And you may not be able to convey much. Now, Alpha 1 is right around the corner, or you're going to get city fire. Either way, they're going to come to your aid because someone called 911. And then they don't know anything about you. And so they will then, of course, take you to the hospital. Your loved ones won't know that you're on your way to the hospital because it's not the paramedics' jobs to figure out who to call, right? I know a lot of us think that in our phone we have in case of emergency, but I'm not sure how anybody gets into my phone to even find that if I'd set it up, because I have to tap that thing on and it requires a password. So I'm not sure about these things, but what I'm saying is that what happens is you could be going to the hospital, and wonderful, the first responders did their job. Somebody kind called 911. First responders got you, took you to the hospital. It's up to the hospital to figure out who you are and who to call, or you, if you're able to and not unconscious, to be able to call a loved one and say, hey, I'm at Kaiser South, or I'm at, Sutter downtown. Please come. I had an emergency. Well, a lot of us can't do that in an emergency. So with a personal emergency alert, a proper one, right? The ones that are designed for this, all different brands, will have all your information in there. And your loved ones can even be set up for a text message and a phone call if you push your alarm. So that operator, once well, in the case of electronic caregiver, those are the ones I represent and the ones I know best. But I know other companies would I would think do the same thing if they use the same rapid response monitoring operators that electronic caregiver does. So what happens is one operator is on that device with you and getting emergency responders to you. While that's all going on, a second operator is calling the first person on your call list. Let's just say it's your spouse, because you might be not together. And if they don't reach him or her, then they're going to call the next person on the list. But they will have left a message for that person. So somewhere on the list, hopefully they reach a live person, but there'll still be text messages, and then they can find out what's happening For instance, you're there, let's just say you're on the floor there, you're at Nugget on the ground, and your spouse is at home or wherever, golfing, who knows, right? Phone call. Your wife has triggered her alarm. We are sending first responders. Would you like to wait on the phone while we gather more information? Heck yeah, right? If they love you, they'll stay on the phone to then find out what's going on. Maybe you got up, they dusted you off, and you're fine. No big emergency, you're okay, a little embarrassed, a little bruised, but no need to go to the hospital. They will be told that. Or, no, they're transporting her to the hospital, hold on while we find out which one. So you see there's that. Plus that operator, well, they all will see your profile on the computer when you push that button, so they know, okay, allergic to penicillin. That would have been told to the paramedics. Has a peanut allergy, on blood thinners, has a deep brain stimulator for Parkinson's or tremors, right? I have a number of clients who have that. Those are important things. I have folks I've worked with who have a stent in their heart. Like, don't do anything, around this area because I have a stent. Or I've got, different body part, what do you call it? Replacement parts, right? So all of that stuff is important. And it's all relayed to the first responders who can then relay it to the hospital, which is if you're going to the hospital. So that's really, really the crux of it, to have better, more informed care on the spot for you. And then this is an example of the latest innovations. So again, this is a hybrid approach. So this particular program is been in the works for years and was really just introduced in the last few months. And this is what's called the personal virtual caregiver, an assistant type of thing. And you all hear about AI and all that stuff. Some of it is like, oh, I don't know if I want to deal with that. And other stuff is really fascinating and can really help us live better lives. So with this one, and I have an example here, don't know if it'll completely work. She is called Addison. She is the virtual caregiver. Again, that's just to show you what's out there. It's not to sell you anything. It's really just to show you, we've come a long way from your grandmother's medical alert, right? So this is, I'll put it in active mode. So this is Addison, the virtual caregiver. Hey, Addison. Fitness routine. Or learning. So with the real one, this is a demo unit. With the real one, you actually would be able to voice activate. You could even say, help, emergency, and then Addison will start the call process. Then, like for instance, I think it's pretty amazing because a lot of the matter of balance exercises are on here. So she's going to tell you how to do your arm swings.
Let's get those shoulders nice and strong. Hold your arm straight out to the side and gently swing it around so that your hand moves in a small forward circle.
Sound familiar?
5 times.
Something Danny had us all do, right?
Then
I
swing
teach
it
a matter
in a
of balance
circle the
too.
opposite direction 5 times. Repeat the same movements with your other arm, and you're good to go.
Just to give you an idea. So if you're not doing your exercises in between, coming to the senior center, now you got something that could help you, prompt you. You could have a reminder in there for that. You can do all sorts of things. So for instance, it's pretty remarkable what's available now. So this will give you an idea of.
Hi, I'm Addison. Welcome to Addison Care, your personalized health and wellness experience. I'm so excited to get started. You're taking the first steps towards a healthier life. I can help you with your medication schedule, checking vitals, emergency response, and so much more. Since you're welcoming me into your home, I'll also welcome you into mine. This is my living room.
So you get an idea, right? And so if you had to take your vitals, again, you can just say emergency and she'll call emergency. So let me go back to here. Options. Addison can be, you can change what she looks like. Addison can be a he, all sorts of things. So you can make it more to your, what you like. So there's games, and there's puzzles, there's solitaire, things to stimulate your mind, right? Because that's important. So just to give you an idea, so that's how that works. Just to give you a sense, and what the company has done, again, I'm just trying to show you what's all out there. What the company has done is paired it with a portable. I don't have an example of that yet, but you see it up there in the picture. That's called the Premier Go, and it's about this size, and that's for when you leave the house, because Addison's great in the house. Kind of a companion, personal assistant. There's even a chat mode. You can ask her all sorts of questions, right? All of your vitals are stored there. If you need to take vitals, that's all there. You can even say, call my daughter, and that number can be, I say daughter, but it could be son, could be your best friend.
That's a separate console from your own laptop?
Yes, it comes in its own little console. And it's very simple to use, and it just plugs in and all that, and it's.
So I might be jumping ahead. The device you carry.
Yes.
That stays home.
Yes, Addison stays home.
The device you carry needs to be within 300 to 600 feet also.
That little device is something you would either wear on your hip in a little pouch or around your neck. The portable.
How portable is it?
Oh, it goes where you go. Oh, so it doesn't actually talk to Addison. With Addison, you're interacting with Addison, and you would say, emergency, help, and she would activate it. Or you push the button that's around your neck or on your waist, or it detects a fall. This new one has fall detection in it, which a lot of people like. And what happens is it's a separate unit designed so that you have something when you leave the house.
Yeah, my point is, when you leave the house, do you need to stay in your yard to communicate with that device or with the emergency? Or can you be driving from, here to
Yeah.
there?
So that little portable piece is its own world, and it has nothing to do with Addison. So it doesn't talk to Addison, it doesn't connect, so it's wherever you are with it. So throughout the U.S., that's the piece that it's just thrown in as a bundle because many people really want to have something extra at home like this, and then but when I get in the car or take a walk, I'm not bringing her, right? Not bringing my tablet. So they'll be wearing something. It'd be kind of like having this, on a string and wearing this. And so this works all by itself, just as an example, right? And so it would have the emergency button. It also has fall detection, so if someone fell, and then that's where the operator is. So it's all one piece. That particular one, called the Premier Go, does need to be charged about every 4 days. But
Like we would a cell phone?
Yeah, but less often than a cell phone. But it's nice because it has, all-in-one features. And with this, you have, something at home that's really helping you stay on track with all sorts of stuff. You can put all of your calendar in there if you wanted to, but your reminders for anything that's important and vitals checking. And then just, kind of having some fun with this little AI thing because if you're living alone, especially, it can be very isolating. So that's just to give you an idea of the breadth of things that are out there. And remember I said it'd be like drinking from a fire hose? But every one of them has a specific purpose and suits a particular lifestyle or needs for you or your loved one or anyone else that you're talking to. Like I said before, the best one is the one you'll use. The best one is the one you'll wear. Yes?
Something like that, is that a one-time cost or are there monthly fees connected?
For any of yes?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, yes. So the question was, is there a one-time cost for that or a recurring cost, right? For this device system and all of the ones from, let's say, Electronic Caregiver, there's usually a start fee and then a monthly monitoring fee. If there isn't a monthly monitoring fee to a device that you have, it would be good to know if you're really being monitored. over the years of giving presentations, I've had many people come up to me to proudly show me their device. And I love it because if you got a device, the idea is to wear it. But I ask questions. Can you wear that in the shower? I don't know. Does it work when you leave the house? I don't know. Is it working now? Well, I'm not really sure. See, because too many companies are 1-800 whatever, and you don't have a local human being involved to help you, guide you on your purchase. And even if you were to go to Best Buy, that's not anybody's exciting thing to help you with at a retail operation. They want to sell you computers and TVs and fancy fridges that remind you when you're out of milk, right? So the thing is that if you don't have a monthly monitoring fee, it may not be doing much. Or if you paid up front for the whole thing, okay, but what's happening? So there's a lot of questions. That's why the guide in there is several pages long about the red flags when you're shopping. Will be helpful. So yes, so the price range, and we'll get to that. That might be even coming up here real quick. Let me get this thing in the right direction. Oh, and this we've already discussed, and I demonstrated it, so we're past that. Oh, okay. So this is one of the latest things too. So, and then we'll probably get into. Let me see what's next. Pros and cons. Oh yeah, pros and cons of home-based systems. Okay. So this is a home-based system as well. These are activity monitoring sensors. So I don't know about you, but some adult kids get really worried about their parents and they start putting cameras in the house. Now, I would hate that. And honestly, you can't have a camera in the bathroom. Remember I said 60% of our falls that happen at home happen in the bathroom? Well, that's the one place you're not going to have a camera. And that's the one place you need to know, somebody needs to know if you've fallen and can't get up, right? Slipped in the shower, whatever. So with activity sensors, this is the only one I can talk about. I'm not familiar with any others other than this one because it's part of the things I represent. Again, I'm here to educate. I can really only educate specifically on what I know. So these plug in, they're like about the size of this. They plug into 4 main outlets in your house. So the kitchen, the family room, the primary bedroom and bathroom, or wherever you move around in your house. And these work off of Wi-Fi signals, so you do have to have Wi-Fi in your home. What they do is these signals talk to one another. So remember when I talked about the gentleman who got caught up in his collapsible bed? Yeah, I know, it's a horrific story, right? I mean, telling you, when my husband goes out of town, I am so compliant with my device wearing because I know the facts. I know the statistics of falls. I know I'm a fall risk. I've fallen before. I know there are parts of our yard that are dangerous, rickety, need work. It's on the long list. If you live in an older home, how many of you live in an older home? Our home, my dad built our home in 1957. It's always been a fixer-upper. It will forever be a fixer-upper until my family no longer owns it. So you're in your yard, you're minding your own business, and anything can happen, right? So when this gentleman got collapsed up in his bed, who lives alone, who didn't have a buddy system, someone who's going to check in on a morning, a night, a neighbor, a friend, somebody, just a phone call, a text. There was no indication anything was wrong. Like I said earlier, had he been wearing a wearable button, an emergency alert button, he could have most likely pushed that, gotten help immediately, right? The second best thing he could have had in the house would be a voice-activated device. Help, emergency, and then the emergency would be dispatched. The third thing would have been activity sensors because they would be programmed by hopefully somebody who loves him because it's all done on a mobile app. And you don't have to know how to use the mobile app. It's you work with your family, your best friend, whoever. And in that mobile app, when do I normally get up in the morning? What's that time range? That's put into the mobile app as a measurement. When do I normally go to bed? Put in the app as a measurement. And other activity monitoring data can be put in. So what happens is, if a person doesn't get out of bed, past that little Wi-Fi outlet, and probably go into the bathroom during that window, let's say it's from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and there's no activity, the mobile app will alert the person with the phone, failure to rise from bed. That's an indicator, right? Maybe they fell during the night, right? And it might not measure any activity at night because maybe you're one of the lucky people who doesn't get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, but for many people they do. But that somebody may not be, paying attention, but you've got these thresholds. So when it's out of the norm for what's programmed in, it sends an alert. Didn't get up, or didn't go to bed, or hasn't moved from the living room for 5 hours. Or 3 hours, that's unusual. Hey, Dad goes into the kitchen and gets, a cold lemonade. Or gee, Dad didn't make dinner today. He wasn't in the kitchen in his normal routine. You see, so without having invasive cameras, there's data being collected that is only sent to the mobile phone through the app. So it's not like it goes out to the world, so that you do have, some monitoring, especially if you live alone. These are the kinds of tools that are out there. And this is again, one-time fee and a monthly monthly monitoring type of arrangement. So I just think it's pretty amazing. These are usually the kinds of things you only find in senior living. You will find there's a product that many of the assisted living communities and probably all of the memory care ones use, that monitors and knows if someone's fallen or something's out of whack. But that's if you're living in a community, in a building, right? If you're living in your own home, you're in independent living, whatever that looks like, an apartment, a single family home, condo. These now are things that you can have that people have only in senior living, which is nice. And so we're going to talk about pros and cons of the home-based systems. Remember, these are the things that just work in your home. Some will work in the yard because they have a big range. It doesn't mean you'll be able to talk to the operator because the console is in the house. But your wearable piece is outside, and you may still be able to get help. So the range of these can be as large as 1,000 feet. That's big. Right? I don't remember how big a football field is, but it's big. The console speaker is louder than some of these small portable units. So for people with hearing loss, the home-based systems can be helpful because they are louder. There's nothing to charge. There's no little mobile piece that needs to be charged because it just gets plugged into the wall, right? There can be battery backup in some of the more sophisticated ones in case there's a power outage, usually 24 to 48 hours. It's always good to know that. And again, you can do landline or non-landline. And then some of them do work off of cell towers. Like this particular one that I showed you, the Pro Health, that works off of cell towers. So you have to have good cell service for this one to work. Again, these are in the house, and most, the good ones cover probably your front yard, backyard, unless you live on 10 acres. All bets are off. Then you got to have a portable one. If you got a lot of land, I have clients who are out on their lawnmowers and tractors, and they got 5 and 10 acres. Well, they're going to be on wearing a portable, right? Because I'll tell you, if you're on a tractor and you fall over, you better get help soon. So other things is, there's no one. If you have a loved one and some people look at these things for their loved ones. I think they're good. If you have a loved one who isn't thriving and like all the attention is on your loved one who might have chronic illnesses or diseases, and you're the primary caregiver, you got to take care of yourself too. But if you have someone you're worried about who has cognitive decline, they may not know what some of these buttons are. So you have to, factor that in. If they live alone and they just have some mild cognitive issues, You're going to need to make sure they're charging a battery if it's a portable. Again, these are conversations you would have with whoever you're consulting with on a device, because a good company will ask you lots of questions. Again, with the home-based ones, you can do some vitals tracking with some of them, not all, depends on what you want. And then, of course, I mentioned that the virtual caregiver is voice activated, so some people like that idea. So these are some of the pros and cons. Those are really the pros. The cons is, there's no portability, right? They're stationary items. So your real question is, with all of these things, is when am I most concerned about my safety or my loved one's safety? Is it when I'm at home alone, because I never leave the house without somebody, and that's the case for some people. I think it's only really the case if you have a loved one who is really having, disability challenges, mobility challenges, and they don't leave the house without you, right? Then that's different. But if somebody is always home and home alone a lot, a home-based system could be the answer. And what else you need to know about? And a lot of the older type of devices that you may see out there won't have a mobile app. And that may not matter to you. It just really depends on what you're looking for. So, and then I want to talk about fall detection. So fall detection comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. So the one I talked about that goes with Addison, that Premier Go, you can also buy that separately. So I just don't have a sample of that yet because it's a new product. But that one does have fall detection already built in it, and a lot of people love that idea. This is a standalone fall detector that you're seeing here. Whoops. And for any kind of fall detection to work, this type, it must be worn outside of your clothing. It has to be able to bounce around in a fall and then hold still and calibrate a differential. Then it will determine if it's a fall or not. And one caveat, these things are not 100% foolproof. To me, they're a backup plan. They're like, okay, I may be unconscious with a fall and not be able to push a button, so I want to have extra, right? I have clients who wear these when they're at home alone. They don't want to wear this when they're out and about. But when they're home alone is when they're most worried, especially folks who've had a stroke and are worried they'll have another one. So, and then these do have an emergency button. Good fall detectors always give you a way to manually push the button. So see,
Dialing the emergency response center.
I pushed it and it's dialing here.
Call. Please press the help button.
And so I will show you, this may or may not work, it just depends, but I will drop this thing and see if it works.
A fall has been detected. Dialing the emergency response center now.
But if you wear this under your clothing, it's not going to register a fall. And whatever you get, and you may have friends who live in senior communities, and oftentimes you'll see whatever pendant they're wearing, it's way down here. Can you see? It's way, way down here. Oh,
a fall has been detected.
I triggered it. See?
The emergency response
so when it's low like that, it's easy to bump and set off false alarms, which always worries people. Oh, I don't want false alarms. I'd rather have a false alarm than no alarm when I need it, right? So with any wearable around your neck, just so you know, with most companies, you should be able to adjust the length. And some things, it's best to wear them inside out, as funny as that looks, so then you're not going to bang it on anything. So those are little tricks of the trade. Whatever device it is, when you're wearing something around your neck, you just don't want it dangling so low that you're going to hit it on the kitchen counter. And there you go. Before you know it, Alpha One's at your door, and you're like, what? Right? What's happening? Why is the ambulance here? Why is the fire department here? So those are something that can be added on, or they come already built into another device. So remember I said you'd be drinking from a fire hose, because I'm a detail nut, and I want you to kind of have an idea of what's out there. So the pros and cons of neck pendants, right, is they can be bulky. But really one of the pros is that you can hear the operator. So I have a lot of folks who really love the idea that right here, what they're wearing has the voice box. The live operator is right here. You can hear her or him, right? So that's the pro of some of the, like the Premier Go and other products out there where it's all one, and the voice box is right there near your ears. The fall detectors, if it just does fall detection and nothing else, there's no voice box in it. But, so that's one of the things. But they can be bulky and heavy, so you got to try it out and see if it's what you want. They're not all that discreet, so if you care what you look like in public, then, you know, might not be for you. But I'm always looking at, well, what makes me safest and so I can enjoy my life longer and not worry is what's right for me, right? They can be, if they're big, they can be a little bit difficult to sleep in. So if you take off your pendant at night, please, please, please put it on the nightstand. And if you get up to go to the bathroom, if at all possible, put that on around your neck before you make a beeline for the bathroom. Because falls happen, right? We're in a hurry, and you just want to have a button on. So in case something happens, you are protected. Yes?
This is maybe sounds like a weird hypothetical question, but so it is just a fall detector. It's not, I think I'm having a heart attack, I'll press the button, right?
Oh, sorry. So this particular one is either or. So again, this doesn't have the operator on it. This works with another, right? It either works with a console or some other device, but just an example. But there are other hanging pendants. And this is just, if you're only wearing a hanging pendant, these are some of the cons. But with this one, it is either, there is a button here. You can't really see because it's gray on gray, but I can push that. And it's
Dialing the emergency response
But
center now.
Are there
To
some that
cancel
are
this
just
call,
fall
please
detectors?
press.
And so what I'm thinking,
Your call has been canceled.
if there's some that only detect falls,
yeah.
and without a fall, you wouldn't be able to talk to anybody.
Yeah,
How hard would you have to get down on the floor to make them think you fell so you could talk to somebody?
Yeah, I don't know of any fall detectors that don't have the ability to also push the button manually.
Okay.
So I would avoid, if you ever came across one like that, I'd say not. If that's the only piece involved in the device. So for instance, with that, with the Pro, the Premier Pro, that has a button you can manually push, as well as it detects falls. So most of them are going to do both.
Okay.
And I would avoid something that, if it's the only piece you're going to wear, you want to be able to push a button. Because even if you fell, you can't even depend on this thing to go off, whatever fall detector is. And if you're not passed out and you have, you know, your cognitive abilities, just push that button. Because, yeah. So for the most part, as far as I know, but yeah, I would avoid one that doesn't let you do it either way, both ways. For that reason, that's something I hadn't thought of. So the question was, yeah, does this thing work as, can you push a button, or does it only work as a fall detector? That, I forgot to repeat the question. So let's see here. Yeah, as I mentioned, they're not 100% foolproof. That's why you really do want to have it be able to be a manual push button too, because you don't want to rely on it, you know, just in case it doesn't work. So, and they do have to be worn outside of your clothes. So those are some of the cons. So now I want to talk about smartwatches, because how this presentation really came about was when the Parkinson's support group, one of them in Sacramento, had asked me during the pandemic to give a presentation on all of the different devices out there. Now, this was like 4 years ago, so I've added a lot of content. But the real question was, what about smartwatches? And are these good enough? And what do they do? And what about Apple Watches? So there we go, Alpha One. I was just talking about them. I bet you that's them. So, and I work closely with Alpha One, so they're my pals. So I want you to kind of get an idea. There's so many smartwatches. I'll talk about smartwatches in general, and then we'll also talk about Apple Watches. And I'm not here to put down anyone's product, because there is something for everyone. And what is best for you is the one you're going to wear. Remember? That's the key. So these are some examples. So on the far, you can see that's an iPhone, right? And an Apple Watch. So in the middle at the bottom, there's an Apple Watch and the iPhone. And then you've got other smart watches and whatnot around. There's hundreds of things out there. And some can be very bulky, that stand up really high. So what I'm going to say, what is nice about smartwatches is they're stylish. They're trendy. They can have multiple functions. They don't have the stigma necessarily of, I've fallen, I can't get up. Those are the pros. That's a short list, though, right? That's a short list of pros. The cons are, they can be, costly to purchase, right? This is a watch that's doing all sorts of functions. You've got to have the watch and the cellular services to go with it. And you've got to take it off daily to charge it. See, because the wearable piece matters because you want to keep it on as much as possible because you never know when that emergency might arise. When you have a watch you have to take off to charge, what button do you have on during that time period to get help if you need it? So I have met a number of folks who have smartwatches, and I'll talk with them and I'll say, do you know how the fall detection thing works? No. Okay, that's not good. I don't know how to set that up. Either do I, but it's better find out, right? Talk to the provider about how do I set that up. The other thing is that with the watches, if you can't put it back on after you've taken it off to charge it. But the crux of it has been, I've asked people, do you wear that in the shower? No. It's like, yes, please. I've had a few people say, no, that's when I charge it. That's when I charge the battery. No. You got to be wearing that thing. And when you spend hundreds of dollars on a fancy watch, you're like, I'm not getting that thing wet. So it's contradictory. But that's what they're designed for, if they're designed properly. Because they have multiple functions on them. So with many of the wearables that you see, that you've seen on the previous slides, they have one function. They're a remote control to push a button to then start the call process. With the smartwatches, they do all sorts of stuff, right? You can get email on them. You can you can be checking your blood pressure and your pulse and all those things, wonderful things. But in an emergency, are we going to remember that we can push that thing for SOS? Because we just think of it as our watch, not as our emergency device. So we have to train ourselves, if we're wearing one of those, to remember, this is my lifeline, right? This is what I got to know how to use in an emergency. I think that's really important. So with multiple functionality, it's a pro and a con. They can be bulky and not that comfortable to wear during sleeping. Again, if you got a smartwatch, have it on your nightstand because you want to be able to grab it. At least have it in your hand in case something happens. And they're water resistant in most cases, but most people are afraid to wear them in the shower. The fall detection, they do send out a lot of false alerts. So as long as you can hear okay and tell the operator on your watch that, I'm okay, you're okay. Otherwise, they're sending emergency help to you. Those are some of the cons. And I'll get into that too. So Apple Watch cons. Again, hopefully nobody here has anybody working for Apple. Nothing against Apple. My whole family on my husband's side, they all have iPhones. I have an Android. I'm the old-fashioned girl with an Android. But if your kids or you decide that you want to get an Apple Watch because it's got some neat features in it, and they're beautiful devices, it's remarkable what's been invented. If you aren't already an iPhone user, you got a steep learning curve with an Apple Watch. So I would suggest if you're looking at Apple Watches, you already love your iPhone and feel pretty comfortable with it because it's a whole different operating system than if you've got, an Android phone or no cell phone, and now you've got to have this multifunctional watch that's supposed to save your life, right? Again, they have to be removed to be charged once a day because anything that has that many functions in it, then, has to be charged. It's wearing down the battery very quickly. Removing it, putting back on might be difficult. It's easy to forget to put it on, or where is it? False alarms. So it does call 911 for you because it has that fall detection, or you can push a button as long as you've set it up that way. So what it will do is contact your family, and it will get first responders to you, right? So that's important. But there's no medical details that are stored. So Apple is not in the business of protecting seniors and preserving independence. They got smart and realized there's a whole boomer generation that would probably love to wear an Apple Watch because there's no stigma. Because we have a stigma in this country of getting old, being older. Like, oh, I don't want to use that cane, it makes me look old. Or that walker, like, well, I'd rather look old than look dead. How about you, right? That's the key behind these things, is to preserve our independence as long as possible. So with Apple Watch, they were smart. Let's add a fall detector. We're going to get a lot of boomers buying this thing, and we're going to get a lot of their kids insisting they get Apple Watches. So that's really what's happened. So if you have one and you don't know how to use it, find out how to use it, because you're paying money on that thing, and they are expensive. Like I said, they're beautiful, amazing, but if you really got it just for fall detection and for emergency, make sure you know how that works. And just rest assured, it will call your loved ones, but that's as far as it goes. They need to be paying attention that your watch has just contacted them, that there's an emergency. So you do need to have you have to have cellular service. And for most of the Apple Watches, you've got to bring your Apple Watch phone, or your iPhone with you when you leave the house. So your Apple Watch works on Wi-Fi in your house, and then when you leave, it works off of your cell phone. So you've always got to have that cell phone charged. So remember, there's a little bit more involved. That's why you've got to make sure you're on top of that kind of stuff. Then it has to be, nearby. So if it's not charged, it won't work. And it's only compatible with Apple products, right? And if you're getting this, you definitely want to get a warranty, because these things are expensive to replace. So that's one of the times I'll suggest a warranty is with an Apple Watch, because they're a big investment. So this is really like, okay, the icing on the cake. And this is in the handout. So what to look for in a personal emergency alert system. So I'm going to repeat what I've said a few times is the system that works for you, the one that you're going to comply with and use, is the one that's best for you. That's the starting point. And then when you're shopping around, then it's really important to ask some questions. And you may not get anyone on the phone who's going to stay on long enough with you with all these questions. So look at the red flags as the ones you really want to know before you move forward with a company. So first of all, who answers the emergency calls, right? Are they emergency medical dispatch operators, or are they in-house personnel? So you want emergency medical dispatch operators. And if they don't know who answers their calls, red flag right there, because that's a company who maybe hasn't thought it all the way through. Because there are companies that I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years that have innovated, and I've looked, and they've come to Sacramento, and they've made the rounds, and I see their material, and my colleagues in the industry, Todd, have you seen this one? Have you seen that one? I'm like, ooh, wow, that's pretty neat. Gone. They are gone, because sustaining this business is difficult, because there's so many parts to it. So many companies are fly-by-night. Some have been around for decades, and they have their own ways of doing things. So, okay, next one. Is your important medical information on file? Right? With the smartwatches, no. Not generally, you can ask, but generally no. So you want to know, like, your health concerns, your allergies to meds, preferred hospital special care instructions. If that's important to you, you want the company to be asking you that when you sign up, so that it's on file, and that's relayed to the emergency personnel. Can you customize how and when first responders are dispatched? So can you say, look, don't dispatch, the fire department or Alpha One or even the police. These things, especially, well, all of them, in-home or not, portable, these are designed to get you police protection as well. So if you think your home is being burgled, you are at home, you hear noises out there and you're concerned there might be an intruder coming in or a prowler, push your button. That's why you want to, if you're not wearing it, have it on your nightstand so that you can talk to the operator without turning on the lights, putting on your glasses. You just push a button. You want to get the police or the fire or ambulance to you as soon as possible. So remember, these aren't just I've fallen and I can't get up, even though I talk about falls a lot. So can you customize how and when first responders are dispatched? So for instance, do you want someone in your family called before they call first responders, right? If you tell them it's an emergency, they will dispatch responders to you, police or fire or ambulance. But if you have it set up, no, you know, this is for my dad and he might not know if it's an emergency or not, so call me first. Well, if they don't reach you, they're going to dispatch. So you just want to be able to customize, right? Those are questions that are important. And you can change it as life changes. Can you have multiple people on your emergency contact list? Most companies allow that, and it's important. It's nice to have a couple anyway, so that somebody is reached. Can your emergency contacts be notified by phone and or text message, right? Which way or both? Does the portable device, if you're looking at a portable one, have pinpoint GPS? The ones I've talked about today that I have do. And I think all the modern portable ones do. But you want to make sure. Because you don't, if you're out walking, do you pay attention to every street sign? Or you're driving and you get in a car accident, I don't know where I am. And if they're asking me, I'm like, I'm looking around. But if my device has me pinpointed right there, they don't have to ask me. They're coming right there, right? Let's see here. Are the wearable pieces water resistant for wearing in the shower? Do you have to take the wearable piece off to charge the battery? That could be a red flag for you. It might not be. It just depends on your lifestyle. How long does it take for the battery in the wearable piece to recharge? Again, these are questions that are the real, red flag things just to know. Can you set up customizable, next page. Can you set up customizable medication reminders and wellness check-ins? If that's important to you, may not be. Does the company provide live 24/7, 365 days a year customer/tech support? This is non-emergency where you can call and talk to a human being and say, I want to test my device, I'm not sure it's working right. Or what does that little red light mean? What's this green light mean? Right? Is there somebody you can talk to on a Sunday afternoon? That would be nice. Or late at night, on Friday. Let's see here. Is the company monitoring device functions and alerting you and or your emergency call list to any issues, including low battery warnings? So some of the folks I've talked to over the years, like I said, they would show me their device, but they don't even know, they don't get any notification. They don't know if it's working or not. And they're afraid to test it because everyone's always afraid, the emergency is going to show up. Not if you tell them, right? No, I'm fine, I'm just testing. So, but you want to, you want to know that somebody's going to alert you if things aren't working properly. Is there a company representative in your local area? That may not matter to you. Most companies don't have them anymore, and I don't know why. Although one company told me, well, we want to protect our employees. And I wanted to say to them, well, what about protecting seniors? So there aren't a lot of in-person people with devices anymore for whatever reason. I just want you to call 1-800. You know how it is. You go shopping and they want you to use the kiosk, right? You go out to fast food and you got to order on a kiosk because there's fewer people to serve you. It's kind of like that. Let's see here. Is it easy to update and revise your personal profile information? So what I mean is that information that the operator sees about you, so you want them to be able to, you want to be able to call and be able to change that as things change in your life. Do they protect your information according to HIPAA regulations? Companies might not know if they do or not. And how secure is your information? And do they sell your information to other companies? Red flag. A lot of the big companies, they sell your info. Don't let them do that. You might want to get a lockbox. If you're not sure what that is, a lockbox is where you would put a secure hide key. You would have it somewhere near the front door. It doesn't have to be on the front door, maybe a hose bib or, electrical gas pipe or some fixed thing, and that it's like a lock. And then that is on your profile, and the first responders are told where it's located, the code, so they can get out a key, open your door, and not break down your door. So some companies offer those for a nominal fee. And then, are there additional fees for other things? So, and then I know we're getting short on time here, right? Aren't we, Sean?
Yep.
Yeah. So questions to ask about contracts and pricing. When at all possible, avoid contracts. There are 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts, and 3-year contracts out there. And they will entice you to get a contract to lock in a price. Well, the problem with that is if you want to get out of your contract early, you have to pay for the whole contract time unless you've moved into assisted living. And that assisted living building, community, will certify to your device company that you now have a pendant that they've issued. And I know this from Scott Okamoto, because when, Scott in the marketing office in the little, right out the front there, he used to, when Maple Tree opened up, he told me this. It is very difficult for people to get out of their contract unless the community they've moved into has certified, yes, you have a new device. Otherwise, you're paying for that contract. They may not even, if it was for your spouse, they may not even let you put it toward you now. I don't know. You have to know these things, right? Because contracts can be really bad. And they'll upsell you on things, and then you're paying more than you need to for a longer time period. So how do you get out of that contract? Ask if they're trying to sell you one. Do you have to buy any basic equipment, right? What's it all about there? Are there initial setup fees? Depending on the sophistication of a device, $25 to $50. Ideally, unless you're looking at something, for instance, like the virtual caregiver is going to be more. It's a few $100s down and then so much per month. Common monthly monitoring fees, $40 to $60 a month for basic. And more, again, if it's more sophisticated. But you can always call me and ask me, is this a fair price for whatever it is you're looking at? Will there be any price increases? Right? That's questionable. They may not. They may say, well, that's why we want you to sign this contract and you won't have any price increases. Nah, take your chances. You can always shop around when the time comes and maybe find something less if the price goes way up, right? Then are there any extra monthly fees to avoid price increases? Try to avoid those because that's goofy. Oh, if you, for $5 more, we'll lock in this price. Like, well, I don't know about that, right? So what else? Are you charged extra monthly fees when you add on a fall detector or some other thing? It might start to really add up, so ask those questions. And is there a charge for free shipping? I know that sounds funny, but companies will say, well, if for a few dollars more per month, we will always send you what you need for free with no charge on shipping. Like, oh my gosh, right? And warranties. You shouldn't have to buy a warranty. They should be warranting their devices, and so watch out for that, because that's another way of being upsold things you don't need. If you break or lose the equipment, are there charges, what to expect? Then you can always decide if a warranty is warranted. Are you charged for replacement items? Are there shipping fees on equipment and replacements? Can you set up automatic monthly payments? Or can you pay for a year of service at a discount? All these kinds of things. And then can you suspend your monthly payment if you're in skilled nursing? Let's say you fell and broke a hip and now you're somewhere 24/7 and you're not wearing a pendant because they don't want you to. Can you suspend your payment that month? Wouldn't that be nice? Is it easy to cancel the system if you no longer like it or it no longer suits you? That's important. That's why you want to steer clear of those contracts. And what's the penalty for early cancellation if you are in a contract? So why personal emergency devices are lifesavers are really, you've kind of heard it all. This is pretty much, we're almost to the end, right? Yeah, we are at the end. So It's much more, you're going to get better care, right, when you are wearing a device and they have your information that's been relayed to first responders. If you are using a portable device, they know right where to send help. Your emergency protocols are on file. Do we send dispatch or do we call, family member first, whatever it might be? Sometimes people have aphasia. You know what that is? When you can't speak, but you can understand. If that's a condition you have or someone you love has, 911 operator has no idea about that. But if you've got an emergency alert, that's on your profile. Big block letters, aphasia, will understand you. So the operator can say, Mr. Jones, we're dispatching help. Help is on the way. I'm going to stay on this line until help is by your side in your house next to you. Just rest assured, we're on our way. Because that person may not be able to relay information, but at least they can hear that help is on the way. So those kinds of things are important. Where do you store your medication? Does your loved one have trouble communicating, like I said, or have cognitive decline? Where are you putting things like your, if you've ever seen one of these pink papers, the pulse, you have to talk to your doctor about this. It's all about your, DNR, partial, not, don't do this, do that. And like a vial of life that you might have from Alpha One, or you can go to vialoflife.com and print your own. These things are important and generally will be posted, somewhere obvious, generally on the fridge or inside a cupboard cabinet. That information is on file with your personal emergency device, where 911 has no idea. The guys, the gals, they'll look for it when they get there, but they have no idea. I went a page ahead. Oops, backward. Okay, let's see here. Where you store your medications, allergies to medications, your preferred hospital, how to get in your home. Remember lockbox, hidden key, remote pad, that kind of thing. Pet handling instructions. I have clients who have more instructions about how to handle the dog or the dogs than themselves. And that's the way it is sometimes. So 911 has no idea, but our operators of any of those kinds of devices would know because you've submitted that information. And then your family or your personal contacts are notified in real time, and then there's other things you can do. So if your device doesn't do all these things, if you have one, time to probably upgrade. And then if you are a caregiver for someone who might not be able to push a button or communicate, you really want to be able to have a wearable piece on because they can't call 911 for you. So you've got to be able to have a button on to call 911 for them or yourself, right? Or if you are out and about, let's say you went to Nugget, honey, I'm just going to Nugget, I'm going to pick up a few things for dinner, I'll be home in a half hour. And you're not home because that Good Samaritan called 911 for you, and spouse is at home wondering where the heck is she or he, and no idea what's going on, and you didn't have a device on that you pushed that starts the whole process. So spouse knows, kids knows, whatever, and now you're on your own. See, nobody wants to go to the hospital without an advocate, without somebody being there to, fight for them. So I think it's really important for that. And then those are the main things, but basically because relying on a phone means that you could be suffering for hours or days without help because if you're like my mom, she fell getting out of bed. I didn't know a thing about these things. All we knew was I've fallen and I can't get up commercials, and there was no way my mom was going to wear one of those, right? So we never had the conversation. So mom was alone at home. She fell getting out of bed. She broke her hip and shattered her shoulder. No way she'd get into a phone. So mom was at the mercy of, she was visiting my brother, of who's coming home when. And thankfully my niece came home for her lunch because she'd forgotten something for school, or mom would have been there till dinner time. So mom was lucky it was only about 4 hours, not 18, not 3 days. But this is just real life. She wasn't planning on slipping and falling when she got out of bed that day, right? None of us are, but it happens. So that's the thing is you really want to think about, how do I protect myself? how do I, what can I do, so that I can get help if I need it and not be babysat, because you don't want that either. Any more questions and comments and things you want me to cover next time? If I get invited back.
You're always welcome back.
Thanks, Sean. Any other questions? I know it's a lot, right? Yes.
Do you do personal consultations, and is there a fee for that?
I do. No, there's no fee for my consultation. So I can come to your home. I can do it by Zoom. I can do it FaceTime on my, on my iPad, because I do have one Apple product, or phone. So like if you're wanting to know, well, what would be best for me? Then I'm going to ask you questions about your daily life and your concerns. And even with family members, if you want to involve family members, because you might have kids who are like, oh, Mom, don't buy anything without talking to me. Or, hey, Dad, I handle the checkbook, so before you spend anything, talk to me. So you can include the family. I'm happy to do that. I'm just, I think as we age, I know as we age, we want to live with dignity and confidence and independence as much as possible. I get pretty emotional about this. As we age, we can feel very invisible. And, the joke, as we were younger, everybody laughed at, I've fallen, I can't get up. And it's like, but now it could be us. And so I think it's really, I just want to do my part to help older folks and anybody with, chronic issues or mobility issues or whatever, have some peace of mind, and their families have peace of mind that there is a device, there's a system out there for you. It may not be one that I represent. It might be, who knows? But if what I have doesn't suit you, I'm not ever going to say, oh, that's all I got. I have spent time looking for other things for other people because what I have wasn't the right fit. And some of that really has to do with cognitive decline, with dementia and Alzheimer's. That gets a little bit more complicated, but there are some things out there. And then my website, I've added a lot of things to my website to be a resource. So you can go to, and all my business cards are up here, dotforsenioursafety.com. Oh, it's on the paperwork too. But for those of you watching, it's dotforsenioursafety.com. And you'll find, devices, these devices that I represent, as well as downloadable documents, a home safety checklist, a fall risk assessment, various things like that you can just download and print, as well as other items that I found that I think are remarkable. That, a link to the Alzheimer's store for some memory items, like, bigger phones and clocks and radios and things, like really neat things. And this garment for showering, if somebody hates having a shower, there's a woman in Atlanta, Georgia, designed this thing called the Blue Hug, and it's, you can look at it at my website. There's so different things like that. If you have friends who have Parkinson's and buttoning a shirt is impossible, now I've got magnetic clothing that you can see and link to on my website. So I just try to make it a hub so you don't have to be Amazoning it all the time or Google this, Google that. And what happens is we have analysis paralysis, right? Which is why this presentation came to be, is like, what the heck do I do? Where do I start? So now, as you've drank from the fire hose, like I said, you now know what the deal is, right? There's just certain categories of devices depending on your lifestyle, and within those categories, there's something that might be for you, and we can figure that out. And that's it. And so just know that I'm here, I'm local, I'm happy to help. And you can meet me, even in probably one of these rooms and have a few people over, or you want to have me over to your home, you want to have some neighbors over and have coffee, and we chat about different devices. I'm happy to do that. I'm here to be of service. And if you know Wanda Au, she's on a mystery trip right now, but do you know Wanda? She comes to these a lot. She wanted to be here, but you can just ask her. I'm a consultant for her too, so. Any other questions? Oh, Addison, bye. Did you hear? She perked up. So thank you all. Thanks for everybody who's been watching. It's been wonderful to be here. Thank you, Sean, for having me. There he is over there running all the IT stuff. It goes all over my head. So thank you all. You've got my contact info. So well, thanks to you.